Welcome to the Scar Wars podcast. We are here with Summer Shiflet, Lori Vallow's sister.
I thought it was Summer Shizlet.
Shizlet, yeah. Summer Shizlet, as Judge Boreski called you. I think I busted out laughing when I heard him say it.
It was funny.
Because how do you mess up your last name that bad?
Oh,
did she
it
write
gets messed
it
up all
with
the
a Z?
time. I don't know what happened, but a lot of people mispronounce it, so it's fine. I'm used to that.
Shiflet.
Yeah, Shiflet.
How do you get shiznit from that?
I don't know.
And the
Maybe
spelling. Yeah,
in,
she had.
In fairness, her writing is tragic.
That is true.
She writes
the
like a
psychopath
doctor.
writer.
Yeah.
They don't have good handwriting.
No.
But I don't have good handwriting either, so I'm not a psychopath.
Yeah, I don't think that means psychopath. But
I thought, isn't there a thing where if you like sign very differently that they think you're a psychopath? Is not a thing.
Oh, there's definitely handwriting analysis.
Right.
I know someone that does that, and yeah, there's a lot of traits you can tell by looking at someone's handwriting. So yeah, it's in there if you want to know.
It's there. So
thank you for having me on.
Yes, of course. I think it's really important to have a bigger conversation around this whole thing. People see you from one perspective, and that is the whole point of this podcast and this channel has been, as you know, you and I watched the Netflix documentary together. So that was that first exposure of how different something can actually come out and how people perceive it because of what's being displayed. So I think it's a good place for you to come because I do think you are misunderstood to most people. They don't really know, and you haven't cared to not use the word. I don't want to use the word defend yourself, but I want to use the word you haven't tried to like figure out how to make yourself look better because you don't care, in a sense. So
yeah, in a sense, I feel like I've gone through different phases. I feel like when I go back and look through all of my, not that I ever go back and watch any of my interviews ever,
Right.
but when people show clips or anything, it's like I can almost see in real time what the journey has looked like and kind of where I was in my understanding and grief process. And I've done interviews where I sound so defensive because I'm anticipating the criticism coming, and it's hard to like balance that. But I've kind of learned, I mean, it takes a long time to process all of this. It's been like a tidal wave to deal with of so many different things, but I feel like I've learned how to, not perfectly, but I've learned better how to like answer how I'm honestly feeling and
Right.
letting, like, I can't control what people think about me. I really
Right.
can't control that. And I can't control if people want to think the worst of me. So all I can control is who I want to be today, how I want to show up, how I want to represent Tylee and JJ in life and honor their memories, and how I show up for my family, how I want to be there for them. So
Yeah.
I just try to do the best I can every day. And I honestly prefer to be behind the scenes. I don't really
Yeah.
enjoy being in the spotlight. It's hard for me, but I didn't ask to be put in the spotlight, especially
Yes.
not under these circumstances. That's not something I've ever really sought out to do, but I don't mind sharing my experience with people that are interested in knowing what it's been like and how it can look to like survive something like
Right.
this horrible, to go through like all of these horrific circumstances that we've gone through.
I think you've hit on three of the things that I thought were important. One, everybody's main perspective of you was your first interview, whoever. Secondly, people don't know what it's like to be living your life one day and then be on TV interviewing
Yeah.
without a lot of information. So that's number two. And then number three, I don't think people ever can grasp the reality of life. Like, this is your life. And again, you and I have discussed this at end. Like,
Yeah.
the other day, you brought that up, and we've had multiple discussions about when you said that Lori was your sister. It actually hit me for the first time ever because you've always been my aunt. But that hit me to realize that what would that be like to have that be your sibling in a different way?
Yeah.
And again, I think it is crazy that most people really just immediately group you into Lori Vallow's sister, Lori Vallow's son. You are just that person's extended person family, not a human or a normal person or going through other things. You are related to them. That's how they know you. So I want to just start real quick with that interview then,
Okay.
just because I know that I disagreed at the time because I just knew that that's something wrong but didn't know what it was. And I think most people thought you were trying to be so defensive of Lori, but I don't think people would take into account where you were at the time.
Yeah. it's hard to know where to start in those explanations, because you hit on a lot of really important things. So I'll try my best to like
Well,
take
in
into
that
all of that
interview,
account.
2020 February was when you did that, if that?
I think it was May.
Was it?
I think it was May of 2020. It's like a month or so before they
Oh, okay.
found the kids.
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong. I
Yeah.
just couldn't put my finger on what. And I totally understand people's upsetness, your upsetness. I understand the judgment. And at the time, I feel like a lot of that decision, I didn't even really realize it at the time, but a lot of that decision had been shaped by my prior experience with my oldest sister that passed. That really did shape a lot of my disbelief in
Right.
that my other sister was going through this. I had a loyalty and I guess all of my experiences with Lori up until that point, we were less than 2 years apart. We were not less than 2 years. Sorry, I said that wrong. We were a little over 2 years apart, but we were close growing up. Like we did all kinds of things together, and she did a lot of really good things for me in my life. And I had seen her in a different way my entire life. And then to all of a sudden believe the most horrific thing you can believe about somebody just seemed like such an impossibility in my mind. I couldn't wrap my brain around that. And my brain would not let me go there. I couldn't explain what happened. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't explain what it was. And the speculation going on was out of control. And I'm like, these people don't even know her, and they're
Right.
saying all these things, so they can't possibly know.
Right.
And then you add in what you said, which is like, we only had a few pieces of the puzzle. It's not like we had all the information that the police had at the time. We didn't know all the things. At least I didn't know. I hadn't
Right.
talked to the police at that time. I mean, I did about Alex, but that was about it at that time. And so, yeah, when I was doing that, I was defending the sister that I thought I knew. And that's all I can say. Like, it wasn't intentionally to hurt or cause problems. It was just the sister that I thought I knew.
Yeah.
And as soon as the evidence came to light, I had to accept the evidence, and I had to learn and change my perspective to the truth.
Yeah. I think that was what was hard too. I want to get to that because we did disagree at the time. I don't think people understand what the riff was like behind the scenes too, how everybody kind of had to pick a side and almost felt like if you don't agree with every single one of these things, you're on this side. If you think Lori didn't do something or confused by it, you're on this. Like it almost became that. And it was messy because I knew I sat in the middle too. Like no matter what the thought process was, I didn't think she could do that either. So it wasn't like this, like everybody comes in at the end and has the whole pie, the whole puzzle put together. And they're like, oh yeah, how'd you not see that? It's like, because it was happening in the time. And what do you have to base off of character? And I even saw this in court, but they actually take your past character into consideration in a sentence.
Yeah.
Because they go, you've never done anything like this before. So again, I think people don't have that perception. And I didn't either until we had a conversation about that and understanding where your mind was at the time, because it just looked like you're defending this person. But realistically, you were defending what you did know because none of us knew what it was.
Yeah.
But then all the people online come up with the theories and it becomes Conspiracy Island, which is you knew everything and you knew and you were on the phone and paid. Like you can't even deal with that type of stuff. But I'd like to at least hit on that too and just say that you've obviously caught a lot more of that than I have because you said those things. And I just feel like maybe even though you said what you said, no one has given you the room to have any growth. They just kind of said that's what you think and believe, and that's all you think. And so they haven't given you any credit that you could change your mind or at least change what you thought. So I think that's the thing that's unfair in situations like this.
Yeah. I mean, it is a painful experience to go through like a lot of public scrutiny and criticism in that way, especially with something so horrific.
Literally.
The truth of the matter is, like, losing our family the way that we did, there is no pain like that.
No.
There is no pain like that. It is the most devastating pain you can go through. So everything after that is secondary.
Literally.
So while it was horrible to go through, and it is, it's not fun, but it's also, it doesn't compare. So it's survivable in a different way, if that makes sense. But I feel like therapy really did help give me better perspective on dealing with the criticisms and things like that. And again, I can't control what is out there, and there's been a lot of people who've put a lot of things out there without the full context, or made assumptions, or have, I don't know whether it's intentional or not, have put things out there about us, but at the same time, like, I don't know their reasons or motivations in doing all of those things, but what I do know is, like, I know how I felt and what I knew. And I know for me that I did not know that those crimes were going to happen.
Yeah.
And I would have prevented them to the best of my ability had I known, because I was not okay with any of those things happening. No. And again, you and I have had this conversation many times. Lori was cherry picking what she was telling everybody.
People don't know how she lied to each person
yes,
separately. So you got lied to differently than I did.
Right.
And to Janice and to her friends and whoever she talked to.
Right.
And I think that context matters, because even when she was telling people about Charles passing or Tylee had passed, like, I didn't know she was telling everybody she met was getting some other kind of story, because nobody's getting together and saying, did Lori tell you this?
Yeah. Because it was a split.
Exactly. Everybody started like really having the relationship, and everybody was temperature checking each other too. Like nobody knew where anybody stood. And I think it's really hard because no one can take that into account of what's going on. And there's such a heavy burden outside of just the case happening in your life. You still have to show up every day in life, no matter what is happening in court, no matter what people are saying about you, no matter what their public perception is. You have to wake up and have your children and have to make money and pay your bills. Nothing else changes ever. And so I think that that's what I mean is, like, there's a bigger scope to all of that. Plus, let's just hit on it. There's so many people who come in and act like they were close to the family, have some kind of little piece that they have some relation or whatever the case is, and speak for a lot of things, and they're not being checked. So you don't have to talk about this, but I am so beyond the people who do that, because they are coming around as if they're like new because of their position. And they're like, well, this happened, and it's like taken as fact. And it's like, not to quote Lori ever by any means, but they were not there. And I hate to use that because she uses that word, but the truth is there's other people who can all attest that that person never existed in those spaces and has this inside, I was there when, no, you did not. So I think that's the hardest part, is like, there's so many layers that goes into it. Not only have you lost everything, not only have you had to heal and move on, but you do get criticized by people who I don't know. Like you said, I don't know what the motivation is for the criticism, but it's part of, you have to deal with it too. Like people saying stuff about you that's not even true.
I think it's interesting too that, like, again, I don't know all the motivations, but like a lot of the narratives that have been put out there, when your immediate family, like, you were going through trying to just cope with your day-to-day life. I'm just trying to survive my day-to-day life. I'm trying to show up for my kids. You're trying to show up for your family. Like, you're just fighting tooth and nail to show up in any kind of way you can to survive. And so it's not like you're anxious to go out and do a bunch of interviews with all of the people who want to interview you. No. And because you do get hounded for interviews. And when you're not available, they will go to the next best thing a lot of the time. And it left kind of an opening, I think, for a lot of that certain people to come onto the scene and state their opinions and position. And, it's unfortunate that some of the narratives are out there. But I think what's important for you and me is we could sit here all day and talk about all the falsehoods that have been said. And to what end? I mean, there'll just be more tomorrow, it feels like. So to me, I think it's better for us and more productive for us to just talk about what it was really like instead of addressing each and every thing, because I can't convince or please. I don't even try to convince people. If you want to believe the worst things about me, you're going to.
Right, exactly.
And I'm really sincerely just trying to, like, survive mentally, physically, spiritually, and, you know, learn as I go and grow. Like, as you said, you grow as you go.
Right.
That's a weird thing to say, but yeah.
No, it's true. It's true. And I think you make a great point where people are watching it and you're living it. So it's very different. And the people who are usually the loudest ones did not actually suffer anything because they're able to go out and just talk about it no matter what. And again, like I only started talking about it in 25 and it took me a really long time to even get to the places I got. And it was the same thing, doing therapy, realizing that I couldn't stand the false narratives, and going back to what we talked about, the documentary, that's what inspired to make the documentary that we're going to make. Because this whole thing, it's not about proving people right or wrong.
Right.
It's about telling people how it really was. And that's what the people who lived it have all said, we're going to do this documentary for that reason, because that's what's important, is that the person who experienced it should be the one who's speaking on those things. And that's how you get a perspective of someone who's not here anyway. They're not here to tell their story. So the only people who can are the ones who experience the same exact life from a different perspective. And so that's why it's really important to do that. But trying to fix the narrative, it doesn't do anything. Because again, tomorrow somebody's going to say something because of the podcast, because they're going to say, you lied, you this, like that part's never ending. But it still does, even if you're good at handling criticism, it's there. It's not normal to go through that kind of thing. People in their normal life don't have videos made about them criticizing what they say or their position and their involvement in bull crap that's happened in your family.
It is a surreal kind of experience when people pick you apart. I think you can pick apart any individual.
That's what I'm saying. Let's pull your skeletons out. I'd love everybody's little black books to go public and then see who's talking. Nobody would. That's my point. But we're in a culture like that.
We are. And I mean, I have to just accept, it's the radical acceptance of all of these individual components. But I feel like, you know, I put myself in everyone's shoes. Like I try to see things from other people's points of view and try to understand. I have the highest level of respect for the law enforcement that handled this case. I feel like they did an amazing job if you have to go through these horrific circumstances, you couldn't have asked for better people to take you through them. And they did just a phenomenal job. But I totally understand why they pulled my texts that they pulled. I totally understand why they did. I had an extensive interview with them about them all. And I know that my texts gave people certain impressions about me, and I have to live with that and accept that. Yeah. Again, they don't have the full context and they're going to make assumptions about things.
I was pretty shocked by them too, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was confused, just with the way that it was going back and forth. But I do know from the context, and I just want to say this because I know from the context, no one aided Lori and Alex in what they were planning. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Nobody had that knowledge. Right. And that's the problem, is it was framed as if you were at least aware of what was going to happen and trying to give them this out. But it's again, you already talked. It's not like you've been nope, never talking to anybody, no interviews. I refuse. I'm not going to help the police. You've done what matters behind the scenes, and we don't have to get into that. But again, you've done the things that matter behind the scenes. So people understood what it really was. And so I think that's the difference. But people only know what they know publicly because it's put out there. So
and I haven't really done much to correct any of the narrative. And again, I am not you have to believe me type of person. I just, I'm just going to say what my experience is and take that for what it's worth. The people that are interested in wanting to know can know. But I will say my biggest regret in my text is that I know they hurt people. Right. And that upsets me. I don't want to cause any more hurt to anyone who's already hurt. And at the time, again, it's all about context and perspective. At the time, I did feel like Lori was the one in danger. I never saw.
She was really good at putting that on, though.
Yeah, but I never thought Charles was in danger.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't have been okay with him being in danger.
Exactly.
I didn't know that was going to happen, and I believed the self-defense story for a long time until I saw the probable cause and the autopsy report, and then I started realizing, wait a second. But Alex hadn't been arrested. I was justifying it 1,000 different ways. Again, because I have my experiences with my family members. This is my brother, my sister that I spent a lot of time with. Right. And I knew them as people before all this happened. Right. And if you would have asked 10 years ago if something like this was going to happen to your family, I'd be like, no way. I would have bet everything in a million that I ever, earned in my life on it.
No matter
There's
how,
just no way I would have believed it.
no matter how I look at it now, those puzzle pieces did change my perspective too, because once I realized how they were moving, how they were talking, it made me think more critically and go back into the psychology and do you have a lack of empathy? Then I did all those deep dives, but I didn't get there early either. I did have a bad feeling after Lori told me what happened because it was so unrealistic to me, but I didn't piece it together because the trauma was so loud. Like, so this is weird because I've only lost a few people in my life. And so with Charles, it was that day. So that was just a different feeling than like with Tylee and JJ, because we didn't know for so long. And then all of a sudden it's there. But that day of that fresh thing, and then have that whole heart attack concept, thinking in my head at work that he died.
Horrible. I didn't even know that you had gone through that.
I know, that's my point. But again, let's put that in context for other people. That was the story. She selectively told everybody what they needed to hear from her perspective. That's how much of a liar she was.
Yeah.
And so that's my point, is like, that perspective matters, because in that time, that's what you get. And that's how I knew, because she lied. She lied to me. So I knew that was weird. I was like, why did you tell me he had a heart attack and not shot in self-defense? Why would you even lie about it? Because she didn't think I'd come over to the house, because I kind of forced my way over there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Everybody told me not to come over. Well, I guess it was just Tylee and Lori were like, it's okay. Well, Tyler's like, it's okay, you don't have to. Yeah. And Lori was like, you don't need to. I'm like, I'm coming over, so find out. Because I'd never been to that house either. That's how fast that happened. They moved back within 2 weeks. They did that.
Yeah.
I hadn't even been to their house. I hadn't visited them yet.
That was crazy.
So I'm just saying, like, there's a lot more to the whole situation.
For sure.
Things like the pool party. I was there till, I don't even know. I got off at work at 7, so I wouldn't have got over there till 7:30, and probably at least minimum stayed an hour and a half.
Right.
And maybe an hour, but still left, and there was nobody there. So I don't know where that comes from, but that's the type of stuff you're like, what? Like, what added layers?
I think the landlord had said a neighbor had reported music, and I'm like, there's a difference between music and a party. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened, because I wasn't even in the state, but I was like, who would have even been in attendance? Because most everybody didn't even know about it till days later.
I don't know that part. That's the stuff. I have no knowledge. I didn't read the report of there's a music. I don't even know. So I can't speak on that at all. I'm just saying it gets blown up a lot by what's put out there. And you don't know what someone's perspective. And I want people to hear this on this one. Someone's perspective sometimes is literally the Facebook post or someone's TikTok that they broke it down. So their perspective is that person's perspective. Yeah. It's not the whole circle. So again, it goes back to, you have to be able to be willing to tell the story, not in offense, but just to put it out there. Because it's like, the truth speaks for itself always.
Yeah, and it should.
And exactly.
Just let the truth be what it is, whatever it looks like. And I think this is why it's important that you're willing to have this platform to talk to all the different people and give the perspectives, because everyone's perspective is a little bit different. But I think it's really important to come together and have the conversations that we've had, so that we can understand where the other one has come from, because you haven't agreed with all my decisions. I haven't agreed with all your decisions. Exactly. We don't have the exact same perspective on everything, and that's okay, because we're both in our own process of, dealing with all of this and processing the information that we have at the time. So I feel like these conversations can be really productive and important to not only share what the experience has been like, but what I'm excited about for you is to do the documentary, so that people can really see all the people that knew and loved Tylee and JJ and Charles, and what they meant to everybody, and bring them to life for people in a way that just doing these kind of interviews, you can't do them full justice in that way. Just like in the courtroom, you can't bring to life a person in a few in the worst hours of their life.
Exactly.
That's in their deaths, in their gruesome circumstances. That's not who they were. Right. It's something that happened to them, and it's horrible. And I'm grateful that it went to court, and that I wish there would have been a plea deal, to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
To spare everybody, but at the same time, I'm grateful because the evidence coming out really did help me process and help me radically accept everything. Right. And it was a process to do that. It was not easy, but it was really good to hear all of the evidence. But when you do that, you look at Tylee and JJ and Charles too, just as victims.
Right. Exactly.
And they are.
Right.
But they also were bright, beautiful, wonderful
Right.
people that have stories.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of people that miss them.
Exactly. That's my point. And I think that was the difference for me too, is like, you know, I didn't know anything about Tammy or anything like that, but I did talk to her family, and that was what made me realize that when you have a conversation with someone that experienced it or experienced a person, it's different.
Yeah.
And that's more perspective for you. And so that's what I mean by doing the documentary. Really feels like I don't care to fix the narratives of what other people have put out there or all these other things about the family.
Right.
It's definitely turned into like the Addams Family kind of concept that all this stuff happened, which, to be fair, there has been a lot of crazy things that have happened across the board for everybody. So I can't deny that. Like, that's true. There's a lot of things that are not normally happening in one tinier family, like the cousins and all that stuff. And obviously with what Lori and Alex chose to do, that's in the 0.0001% of people ever would do that, right? So it's not normal. So we can't pretend that it was normal. But what people also don't understand is that the reason it was such a weird transition and difference is because it wasn't like that. Like, you had Alex downstairs doing rock band with everybody, singing at the top of his lungs. Like, you don't think that person, and like, I don't think people realize the relationship Alex had with Tylee that I noticed later. Yeah. And I was like, it was different because he was never around really in our family, like for, you know, with me and Tylee. But they got close, and I saw them talk all the time when they were around each other, and they would laugh, and he was doing stuff with her friends and them, which, I mean, I think that's a little weird, but whatever.
I mean, same for me. Like, Alex came to my house a lot of weekends, and he would play board games with my kids. Yeah. He had great relationships with my kids. Yeah. And it was really hard to process what he did. Yeah. And to understand that, you know, if you could do that to Tylee and JJ, you could have done that to my kids too. Like, it's just a hard reality. No, exactly.
There's no boundary at that point. Yeah,
it's really hard to accept that and understand, like, the hurt and betrayal that causes in a family. Yeah. But yeah, our family, I think a lot of people are going to have judgments and things and opinions, and that's okay. Like, I can't convince anyone in anything different. I can just share what my experience was. I feel like we had a loving family, not a perfect family. There were definitely issues. Everyone has issues, but you hear all of these like horror stories that you hear about from families where the kids are severely neglected, abused, harmed, starved, beaten, and we didn't grow up that way. Right. So, you know, like, people want to associate something really bad must have happened. Right. I can't think of anything that bad that would have happened that would cause any of this. Right. Except I do see mental illness as a big factor. Yeah. And that's the main factor I see in this. Yeah. And see, that's the difference. I accepted the difference in our opinion as well, because you experienced all of the things from you as, like, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about your childhood probably, but also you do have a different perspective. I had her as a mom, and so totally different.
It's not this. We're not experiencing the same person, right? And I think that's where I finally came to acceptance is I can't even prove all the things that I've experienced with her that really made me feel the way I do. And I didn't realize how I felt until I did therapy. But at the end of the day, there's nothing more that I can do than just tell you, just like you can tell me. So I'm not here to say I think all these things happen. I do think trauma plays a huge role in people's, like, most people who do things of this nature are something's wrong with them, right? Like you said, mental illness or trauma. Right. A lot of people who get in those types of things have had really bad childhood specifically. But I think my assessment always just was that regardless of what you've experienced, you don't have to go down that route. And so you and I have had a big disagreement about what we think about Lori's diagnosis, in a sense of like how we perceive what it is. But at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be that you and I think the exact same thing to go forward. But at that point I did draw lines in the sand. I was like, no, I mean, there's no way around that. Like, you can't sit here and deny that Lori was aware, and like, you never said she wasn't aware. Right. You just talked more about.
I want to be very clear. I hold Lori responsible for what happened to the kids. Yeah. No excuses. Yeah. No, like, pause,
Right.
like full stop. I totally hold her responsible for what happened to the kids.
Right.
And that opinion won't change.
Right.
I've seen enough evidence to
Yeah.
understand that completely. I think our difference is just like what her actual diagnosis, like how it,
Means.
and
How it
how it
affects
played,
her,
how it
yes.
played a part. But for me, like trying to research and understand how and why she got to this point has been just a part of my process and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all have the question, why did this happen? How did this happen? So
Right.
I think I've done like the things that I've done to research it and process it makes sense to me in my mind. The way you've done it makes sense
Right.
to you in your mind. I don't know that there is a right or wrong. I don't know because I'm not a psychologist. I don't know all the answers.
Right.
I do know that I think, you can't be like, there's something severely wrong in
Yeah,
your
but someone
mind
who can do that, right?
if you can do something
Agreed.
like that.
Agreed.
So we do agree on that. Like there is something severely wrong.
Normal people don't do that. So
No.
that's where we're both in an agreement.
Absolute
I think where we
agreement.
could started picking hairs a little bit is I think at first it felt like we were discussing two different types of things, which was completely delusional and didn't have any idea what the consequences would be, which could be kind of true in a sense. Like, I don't think she weighed it, but I know my assessment was just the fact that there was so much lying, so much
Right.
running, so much lying to each person. That shows that that you have to run and get away.
Right.
So that was the difference between
Yeah.
where we were both at. But I think maybe
That's the most complex part of her
Exactly.
diagnosis is if she does have delusional disorder, which she has been diagnosed by multiple psychologists as having that, like why all the lying if you're truly delusional? Like I understand that a lot of people have opinions
But
about that.
that's a little bit of a black and white thinking as well, because it's obviously more in the gray area.
Right.
Because
as
I
all mental
think
health really is.
that conversation I
nuanced.
just had with her, the interview, I think
Yes.
changed my perspective too, because I mean, I could see that in her face. I know it's there. So I have to accept and realize and say it to everybody else, because no one else saw her face the way I did during the interview, at least this time. But I could see the moments of the eye closed, the cringes, the body language of like acknowledgement that she knows she's hiding behind something. But like you said, at the same time, there is something where you're able to like, it doesn't bother you. And that is in that realm of mental health. Like even with Alex, like how do you do something like that and then do something right after, like just keep living normal life,
Yeah.
like nothing happened and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So I don't know what that is. Because again, I'm an internet psychologist without a degree or any kind of knowledge. It's literally me assessing
Right.
the best I can too.
But that's what we all do, kind of.
Exactly.
We all process in a way that makes sense to us.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of case followers do the same. Like,
Yeah.
you process in a way that makes sense to you, and you relate it to other things that you are familiar with.
Yeah.
But I do think, in Alex's case, I mean, I personally think that his choices in his role of like everyone's death, I think that did ultimately kill him.
Yeah.
I think the weight of that is what finally got to him.
I agree with you. And like Ray himself has said that he knows that nobody killed Alex, but people have such a strong, like, there's no way he died. But I'm like, I don't think people realize, and I don't either, but this has got to be the only thing I can come to is there had to be some kind of stress to your body and fear or something of that nature. And I hate to use this example because I never want to sound like cold in this regard, but like a perfect example for some reason to me is like Dexter, that he's not upset with what he did, but when he's in the realm of getting caught, he freaks out. Like he's having a reaction because if he gets caught, it ruins his persona or it ruins the life that he's doing. So I do think even if you can commit those types of things, there's such a selfishness to that thing of something's happening. So you have you have some reaction, even if you're a psychopath and you have lack of empathy, there's something that you cling to in that way. So I think he did die from that stress. And I think God just clicked the light, in my personal opinion. But
I agree.
we can't
I
we
mean,
can't argue that point if
No.
that is what happened.
I mean, the only downside to Alex not being here is that I think he would have told us everything.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm glad that he,
Right.
isn't here to have to deal with a whole nother, level of that.
I think he would have probably pleaded as well.
Oh, I think he would have for sure.
Under that pressure, I think he would have just
pleaded,
said
and
everything.
I think he would have said
in one
everything.
interview and then pled, but who
I mean,
knows?
he died. I think he died December 12th, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah,
on
I don't know
dates.
when he died.
I think it was
Actually,
December 12th. The police came to my house on December 17th to do a wellness check on Tylee and JJ. and I talked to them, and then they came back on December 19th.
That's when I got the. Did I? No, I didn't hear from. I heard from everybody else on the 19th. I didn't.
Oh, on the 19th?
Yeah, nobody told me till then, and so then I found out that night right before I went to go see Star Wars.
Oh.
And then that was when the press release came out the same day too. So all that happened in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The press release came out.
Yes.
So the December 19th, the police came back and told me, we could tell you didn't know anything about your brother. So they told me that he had died and that he had been living in Arizona and that he had gotten married and that they had attended his autopsy and they didn't suspect any foul play, that they believed it was natural causes. So I had the whole conversation with them,
Yes.
and then I had to go in, and my kids are like, "What's wrong?" I had to tell my kids they were close to him at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I had to call my mom.
I just want to pause you real quick though.
Yeah.
That's the point that people don't understand is that regardless of anything, we didn't know what happened and it's still their uncle that they knew who came over and played board games and did voices and wasn't the psychopath murderer.
Right.
So there was a level of grief at the time that you can't put into context because
I'm glad I didn't know everything in a way at that time, because we were able to, like, I guess, I don't know if grieve him or say goodbye to him or whatever in that way to the Alex we knew.
Yeah. He died to me when he killed Charles in my personal, like when he died, I was in shock. I was at the movie thinking
It was hard.
my uncle just died who killed my dad. So like,
Yes.
I don't know. I guess that day when I found out he did that, everything changed for me personally. But I guess I never really grieved him at all. I didn't think about that.
Well, and I don't think it just depends on what your relationship is to the person. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's just where you were. And I totally can understand why you would feel that way.
I remember at the movie theater, I cannot believe. And again, I didn't even know.
Yeah,
like I can't
think the
believe
press
that I
release
didn't
did
know
come
at
out
the time.
that night.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that happened that night.
It was all just
so
in your
finding
face.
that out and that she was married and I see Peter Griffin next to her on a thing and I went, and the kids are missing everywhere and they fled and where they were. I was like, all that happened in one night, in one paper. I found out they were in Idaho, that they were no longer in Idaho, that they had lived up there, that everybody had lived with them.
Right.
I mean, Alex is dead. I was like,
it's crazy.
this is one day. Cause again, what is that time frame? I found out the day before Thanksgiving. So I'm going to say November 27th.
Was the last time you talked to your mom?
No, yes. Well, that was, so the police came to my door.
Oh, yeah.
Asked me about Tylee and
Right.
JJ, but started with Tylee. And then they left and I called Lori, told her she did the 30-second and then she was gone. And then the next thing I saw was that press release. And then she sent an email like somewhere within that time frame where she was like, everything's going to be fine and we're okay. Meaning me and the kids, not you and the fat F. Like, what are we talking about here? That's who you're okay. You're okay with him. But like, I have to just realize like, that's my point. You don't know what shame means because you're going off of what you think you know.
Right.
Which would be me and the kids are okay.
Right.
Not me and this idiot who I just married are okay. You think I give a like that you think I care?
I think that's too something that is so hard to still accept, that like if she was out today, she would just want to be with him still today.
If they never got caught, she
got
would never
caught.
say a word to us.
Yep,
she'd be somewhere in the world
That's true.
hiding with him and never say another word.
That's
She'd be
true.
fine.
And she'd be fine
You
with
said
that.
it. Here's the thing. I want to say when I realized where you were at is the phone call you had. And I don't want to make this whole interview about Lori, just so you know.
No,
But that's when I knew because I heard the rawness in that in your voice, and I had never heard you like that.
Well.
And I never heard, and I the worst part was the second time I listened to it, I heard her manipulation over you, knowing you were down, and I could see how she was playing her card. I was like, that's awareness. That's not a person who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
She hears the vulnerability and she's still trying to get to Summer
Same
because
in your
she's
call with
losing.
this one.
She's losing everybody.
Yeah.
So she's grasping because she's that selfish.
Yeah.
It's not about the other person. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about her losing everybody. So, but your phone call set the standard of where I knew you were at too. But that was the rawest thing I think I've ever heard in my life. So that, that changed it.
That was for me too, because I mean, June 9th was the worst day of my life, hands down. There was never a worse day than that. And then even then, there were still so many questions.
Oh yeah. You remember I called you and told you what the first fake story, which was worse than not worse, but in a way worse. It was more disgustingly worse.
Yes.
Basically, I guess no one knows that I've said this, but I was told twice actually I think I actually did hear that from someone else too, but there's two people that told me that Tylee and JJ have been found together in this, what's it called? Septic tank, bound together.
Yeah, it was the most horrific
And so that was the
thing.
first thing I was told. And so then I reported
Even
that.
now I'm like,
I know. No, it's really hard.
Yeah.
That was really, really, really bad. But to find out the truth too was
It was just as bad.
there is just no scale. It's all just the
bad.
worst thing you've ever heard in your life.
Right. But I still didn't know a lot of things. I think between June 9th and the time I actually had the call with her, which I think was like on the 20th or 22nd, somewhere in there, I think I had found out about Tylee, how her remains were found, which was very upsetting. I didn't know about how JJ was found yet. And had I known that, that would have been a different part of the phone call for sure. But I didn't know that yet. That came out later in the Chad's preliminary hearing. But I did know about Tylee, but I still just had a lot of unanswered questions. And so I just remember getting that message from her that she wanted me to call. And I had called you and my mom, and I was like, she wants me to call. I don't think I can do it. And you guys were like, then don't. You don't have to talk to her. And I was like, okay. So I didn't call. And then she sent me another one. And I was like, I told you guys, and I said, what if she wants to tell me what happened? Like, I should just...
You don't know exactly. You don't know what you're going to get.
And so I think within seconds of the call, hearing the flatness, hearing I can't talk about it was such an acknowledgement that you know exactly.
Exactly.
You've been lying to me this whole friggin' time, and you know it.
Exactly.
And
you're her. I don't need to take my, and that's where I take myself
you're her
out.
son. Like I'm her sister.
But,
she lied to her mom, her son, her sister. Sorry.
Right. But it's hurtful for you because again, you are her sister, and you said I would have supported you had you actually told her. Like you tried giving her the line, and she's like telling you, "Yeah, I knew, and I couldn't have. I'd get in trouble if I told the truth." That was what she was basically telling you.
And I think that started my true acceptance, even though on June 9th I did a complete mind shift that I knew she was responsible, and I really did understand that. My mind just completely 180 that day. But I think it's that phone call really started that acceptance process for me of what is this really, and then began my grieving journey. Because you go through so many
worst thing
emotions.
ever to hear that grieving. That's the worst part is we already suffered in the waiting. Such a long time.
Gosh, can you imagine how many families still don't know?
I know, trust me.
At least we found out, and as horrible as it is to know, it's better to know.
It is. You can't argue because that missing period is
torture.
A torture. I mean, you
It's
just
another
can't
level.
grieve. You can't grieve. You can't accept. You can't do anything. You're just stuck in theory land, and everybody else is giving you theories as well.
Yeah.
So I do feel because it happened and because, I mean, and again, not to go back to the interview only, but that, right as you said that, it reminded me, I wish I would have said that to her in that moment, which is I didn't know where they were buried, but like, I did say, I know you knew that. Like, we're not stupid, but just all those lies, like to sit there and to know you're actively lying and you're in the corner. The shit is on the screen, the text, everything that your phone call with the pool thing, like everybody knows. So like for you to just refute and to stand 10 toes down, just to not accept it. I think you just have to get to a point where I realized, but I realized that I wasn't ever going to get to her.
Right.
And I just hope that if I said anything, which I don't think now, I just go back, like, I don't like to get really angry or like cuss out people. So it's not something that's like normal for me to do by any means, but I do hope that everybody who will not get that opportunity at least felt like she at least she didn't get to just lie and then have that out. Cause the first time I said nothing, I was just in shock. Like from the beginning, I was in shock. The first thing she did was tell me,
and you're trying
Tylee
to
came to her and said she was a brat, like Tylee's fault. I was like, that just immediately
infuriating.
rocked me the rest of
infuriating.
the rest of the time. And so I don't know. I think that is an important factor, is maybe hopefully it gave everybody just maybe a little bit of closure. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it did. I mean, I had people tell me that about my call, that it was all the things they had wanted to say to her.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem. Like, I'm like you and I are the same, and we don't like to live in anger. That's not where we have to like work our way through it. We can't just stay in that place for a long time. But I have no problem like telling my sister, like we've had many fights,
Right.
you know, so I don't
Please
have
tell the throat punch.
I'm not telling the throat
Please.
punch. It was a one-time throat punch. And
Yes, but people need to know that you are not.
she came home late and was rude to my mom about it. And
What
I throat punched her for being rude to my mom.
Yeah, because everybody thinks you're just like her biggest support, and that
I was kind of the mean one in the family.
You believe everything she said, and that you're this pushover who just agreed with everything she said. I'm like,
I mean, I did believe her in a lot of things, but
Yeah,
again,
but
I was manipulated
you also-
because I didn't give
but
she didn't give me full context
No,
of what she
you
was
didn't
saying.
have though is you didn't have the full picture and
Right.
agreed with her. You weren't part of the group in the group saying, "Oh yeah, of course that's right, that's true, this and that." You and I were both in a place also. I think at the time too. I think spiritually is a really good place to go to with this. Is like, at the time, Lori's telling me stuff, and it's like for me, I was like, I can't really argue with you. Like only thing she really told me was at one point where she was cutting my hair outside of that house, like the bigger house with the pool, and she was cutting my hair, and she's like, "I've seen Jesus," and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like what do you want me to do? Like I don't
Right.
actually believe you, but it's also kind of like, is it kind of like bad for me to say no, you haven't? Because
Right.
what do I say? Like what do I do in this situation?
Because you and I are both the same in that, like, you're going to give your loved ones the benefit of the doubt. And you're also going to, like, if somebody has a different religious idea than you or something, you're not going to try to shame them for it. You're going to just
Exactly.
listen to them and
but I didn't
support
agree
them
with
where
her.
they're at.
Yeah, but it's like,
right?
what do you do with that?
Well,
right?
how do you equate that with I'm going to murder people?
No, you don't.
You
That's
don't.
my other point.
That
I just
doesn't
thought she
go
was,
together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you think it's odd or strange, or maybe you don't believe
Right.
it, but you're not going to sit there and fight about it. Like,
Right,
I can
exactly.
see totally. I mean, would have calling her out made a difference? I don't think so.
No.
I think she was already far gone, in my opinion. And this is something
Yeah.
that I think you and I might not agree on,
Mm-hmm.
but I think because she started telling me some of her religious experiences in like the end of 2017.
Yeah, that's when
And
she started doing all that stuff.
So my take is that her delusional disorder started
Mm-hmm.
taking full effect, which from my research does happen to women in their later 40s. And then I think her delusion is the reason she got involved with Chad in the first place, because he validated her delusions. That's my take.
That is true.
I don't
do
think she would have looked twice at him. She had Charles, who was, I mean, in every way
everything.
superior.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, I don't know, does that sound weird to say that? But
It's the truth.
it's just how I feel.
Well, if you
I
just to
guess.
be as
It's my
objective
opinion.
as possible, if anybody were to think of cheating or attraction, I guess, I don't know, but I mean, in that regard, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Even just everybody looking at it logically, no one thinks,
Right.
oh my gosh, like that makes sense. No, he did feed the one thing she always wanted. I don't think people probably take into account is that she had always married non-members.
Mm-hmm.
So she never had a spiritual equal, and then that's not to down everybody else, but it's the truth. She always married someone who had to be converted into
She
being
felt
LDS.
like she was the
spiritual
leader of the family,
Exactly.
I guess.
And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
she never had the thing. So I think that played a role.
Me too,
But
yeah.
I think
No,
what
I think
happened
that did
was because I just want to jump back real quick to when she told me at 8 that she's going to die. Like
Mm-hmm.
that existed before that. So there was always a strain of that,
Yeah.
of this idea. And then she went really heavy 2012, really heavy into this is the end. And I get at the time, they even made a movie with the guy from what's the guy from that movie in the 90s where he pulls up in the car and he races those two guys that put their gloves on?
Which one?
Drop Dead something?
Drop Dead Gorgeous? No.
No.
No. I
The
don't
guy,
know.
he's from the 90s.
I don't know.
He has
if I've
black
seen it.
hair. He made the movie 2012.
Okay.
He was
I don't know if I've seen it.
he was a young actor though from that movie that my mom liked where he's in high school, and anyway, we're never going to get there. I'm not going to be able to explain it. It's that movie where it's like a cartoon beginning.
Oh,
and
is
then
it
he's
Better Off Dead?
Better Off Dead.
Better
That
Off
guy.
Dead, John Cusack.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Shout out to John.
Yes.
He's in
Love that
2012,
movie.
and
Yeah.
that's the one where the world ends. So
Okay.
he's in LA, and the what's it called? The fault breaks. And
Oh,
so
San Andreas Fault?
Yes,
Yeah,
San Andreas
yeah.
Fault. The thing collapses. So it was because of the Mayan calendar. A lot of people actually felt this way, and I think at the time there was a
Oh, yeah,
lot
the Mayan
of
calendar. I do remember that being a
yes,
thing.
but that was a
back
real
then.
thing.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the church was heavy on get your food storage.
The church, though, has always had that policy. Like, it wasn't a new thing. It wasn't.
I just think it
2012's
was
coming.
more widespread at that point.
Well, maybe
in my
because
personal
of,
opinion.
maybe because of like social media expansion, maybe. But I think it's always been, because even when I was younger, I remember like my parents had like a year's supply of food storage. Or
Oh, I
whatever.
didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's always been a thing of the church. It's just
Right. Well, maybe that's when
it's just
I
like
noticed.
a good common sense to like be prepared financially or for food. So if something does happen, like if you lose your job, if there's a natural disaster or something, that you won't be in a desperate situation.
Right.
It's not like prepare because the end is coming. You're not going to
Right.
survive the end
Well,
if
that's
it's
when
that
Lori was
horrific
on that.
anyway.
She was on that
Right.
whole like
I think she took it
survival.
to extreme levels that
Right.
most people don't
Yeah.
consider.
I personally in Hawaii alone moved the food storage. And it's
Yeah, but why? It doesn't even make any sense. This is why you know you're dealing with somebody insane. If you believe the end of the world is coming and you have food storage and then you go fly off to Hawaii and leave it all behind, like, what are you doing?
she bought new stuff there. But you know what's even funnier? Hawaii is the most self-sustaining place on the planet
There's
Earth.
chickens everywhere.
There's chickens and you can fish.
And it's beautiful.
And it has fruit everywhere and it rains all the time. You would never die there.
I'm sorry. I have to just shout out to I don't know what it was called, but that mini golf course that we went to on Kauai
Right before I left?
where it had all the farms
It's the greatest
of,
one
like,
ever.
the most beautiful fruits and
It was
vegetables.
it's the most gorgeous mini golf of your life.
I was like, what is this place?
No, Kauai is gorgeous. And that's why I went off on
It's
her
the
about
Garden
it
of
though
Eden
too.
on Earth. It's so pretty.
It's so beautiful. But
Yeah.
I told her that same thing about her taking Chad there specifically really hurt. That was a
that hurt
stab
so bad to hear
in the
you say
heart.
that.
Yeah.
I-
We would go to Kauai Beach specifically to have our birthdays. And like that was the place I was happy. Douche. How about that? Frick you, bro. We all had that
seriously,
experience.
and that's what's hard with this is that every time you think you've like processed it all,
Yeah.
there's little things that you have to continuously that get brought up that
Right.
hurt, and those betrayals over and over and over again of so many little moments and
Yeah.
little things that you're deprived of, like I see little reels that I want to send to Tylee. And
Yeah,
I'm
exactly,
like,
me too.
I can't freaking send this
Right.
because she's not there, and it pisses me off.
There's times I've picked up my phone to call her.
I know.
Literally, you just don't. It can't explain that to people.
I know.
Yeah.
There's so many moments that you have to live with the rest of your life dealing with. And even if you have acceptance, which we do, but you have to relive a lot of the time or reprocess,
Yeah, exactly.
And, re-accept.
I think you just made a really good point that I was going to get to, but
Sorry,
in this
didn't mean
whole
to jump ahead.
no, I love it. It's just like not a lot of people, and I'm not going to out anybody, but I don't think a lot of people in our circumstances have really sought the therapy that I think everybody should, just because this is really hard to deal with. I don't think you should try to do it by yourself, but teach their own. Everybody doesn't believe in therapy the same, but I really do push it because if you put in the work, you get results. But what I was saying is, I think it's really interesting too. Another thing that doesn't get brought up enough is probably the re-forgiveness. As the time was going on, it was like little razor marks again, and the same scars, same place you were hurt comes back. Now there's these
So
trials,
true.
and now Legally Blonde's up there talking, being her own lawyer, and I was like, what a effing mess. What
I was waiting for the endorphins make you happy.
No.
I was like, you got to be kidding me.
No,
you making that comparison though was golden because that is exactly.
That's my point. I literally didn't, and I don't know. Everybody thought that was so funny, but to
It
me,
is. It's tragic and funny.
but
at
it
the
is
same
true. I
time.
thought to myself when I was watching that video of her saying she was going to represent herself, I said, "You've never studied a day of law, so what credential do you have?" I wouldn't do that to save my life, literally.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I don't know the system. I don't care what book I read. You do not have an equal to somebody who did this, is doing this.
Right.
And I think it even takes a type of person, no matter how smart you are logistically. It takes the type of person to be able to understand when to bring up certain things, what to present. It's not easy. Let's just put it out there. It's not an easy job.
No.
There's a reason that you have to go to school forever to become a lawyer and pass
Right.
a whole exam.
And I want to point out kind of a similarity in what you're saying about representing yourself in court, and relate that kind of back to therapy, because if you have a good friend that is willing to listen to you, that's great. If you feel like you're processing it on your own, I can understand that to some extent. But when you have somebody that's literally gone to school
Right.
and has been trained in how to help you deal with trauma, giving you like feedback or
Right.
or exercises or whatever. Like for example, like I did EMDR on a couple of specific issues that were a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Like there were certain things that just gutted me every
Right.
time I thought about them or saw them.
Yeah.
And it totally helped me to like be able to see it and not physically react
Yes.
or mentally react the way that I had been.
Yeah.
And it still hurts.
Yeah.
The pain is still there, but it's a lot more manageable. And so for me, I think the message with mental health or with therapy
Yeah.
and stuff is I get like sometimes avoidance is what you want to do because it hurts so bad that you
Yeah,
don't want
I
to
get
deal with
avoidance,
it.
yeah.
And sometimes you do avoid and sometimes you do distract, and that's normal, I think, to some extent. But really, acceptance is the way through. And
Yeah.
acceptance, when you can do that, it helps you to be able to still feel it, still carry it with you, but manage it better and move forward and still find joy and purpose and
Right.
happiness in life. Because if you constantly avoid it, it builds up and
Yeah.
it prevents you from moving forward in so many
Right.
ways.
I think a lot
in
of,
my opinion.
yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. We've talked about this a lot. Is most your body's still experience it, going through it, feeling it, so it doesn't go anywhere.
No,
And
well,
it's
it does go in your body because you have physical symptoms, whether you're processing it mentally or not. Your body is keeping count of what's
exactly.
going on. Because look at how much your body has
Yeah,
gone through.
exactly.
My body's gone through a lot
The
of stuff
stress,
too.
exactly.
Yeah.
Stress is real, and people get all kinds of real diseases because it literally spikes your cortisol and also can ruin your, what's it called, your immune system too. So
Oh,
just
for
by that
sure.
alone, you're more susceptible just from
Yes.
stress.
Yes.
People don't even take that into account, like
And
how
it affects
stressed
your
that is.
sleep.
Yeah,
All the trauma
it
affects your sleep, and that's
right.
a huge key.
Yeah, and then it gives people get high blood pressure, which is a very real thing. People
So
can
true.
die from that, like heart attack. Like people just probably don't really understand the physical side of the mental health, which is why I preach it all the time. Like you need to understand your mental health matters
love
just
it.
as much because they both correlate.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you're having a really hard health time, it affects you mentally.
Yeah.
Right. So it is really hard, but
I love that you talk about it too, because it does need to be talked about, because you do have to take care of your physical health,
right.
which is different than your mental health. You have to take care of that each individually, your
Right.
spiritual health. Like you have to put effort into all of those areas. And I
Right.
think you and I are the same, that we can't go very long without doing something physical.
Yeah.
And there were times where I couldn't do as much physically and I got frustrated because I was going through an injury or something.
Yeah.
And I had to change my mindset. Instead of like being mad about what I couldn't do, try to figure out what I could do to
Right.
get through, you know.
What is my solution? I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing you get to when you're faced with something this big. I think it forces you, like you said. I mean, not everybody does it, but
No.
the hard path ahead is, what do I do with all of this?
Mm-hmm.
Like you are stuck. You're stuck. It happened. It's not going to change, and it's being talked about all the time. And there's multiple trials that are going to happen over courses of years. So in that time frame, it's like, what do you do, and how do I vent this out, and how do I figure it out? So I think being faced with that, the constant reminder, the constant, it's coming,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen again. We've already done this trial, now this one, now this one, now this one, now sentence. Like it never ended. And then on top of that, you
was
have all
long.
you have all the media, and then you have the public opinion on top of it
I don't
all.
think
So it's a
most
lot.
cases last that long.
No.
Like ours felt like it lasted
did.
a
It lasted
really long time.
forever.
But I think the beauty in that, from my perspective now, is it's given us time to really kind of everyone to process through,
Yeah.
heal a little bit, and then also with the documentary coming up, it gives you time to really now focus on just what you want to focus on with the documentary, which
Yeah, I
is
needed that to be over to even
because
attempt
back then I don't think you could have done it without making the case the complete focus.
it. Exactly.
And while the case is how everybody got involved in this and started caring about Tylee, JJ, and Charles and Tammy, I don't mean to just
Yeah.
not include Tammy. I just I know this one
Yeah.
is going to be just Charles, Tylee, and JJ.
Right.
But like getting to know them as people, it's separate from the case too. And
Exactly.
hearing from people that haven't really spoken out and
Right.
haven't really said what their experience has been like is going to be, like, I think really eye-opening for people and heartwarming for people. And I think hopefully they take away just the beauty and humor and love that they brought to the world, and then also like carry that legacy that they brought to the world and like take it with them moving forward, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
I wanted to rewrite the narrative for so long because if you haven't experienced it like we have seen the inside of what it was like and then what people say it was like. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, like you said earlier, nobody really even gets to focus on anybody else because it's all about Lori. So even the documentary with Netflix was all about
Lori's
Lori.
really the draw. If you talk about Lori, everyone's going to be like, what now about Lori?
Right, I get
Chad
it.
doesn't even have the same draw.
No,
that Lori
literally.
has.
I
Yeah.
know. It's just because she's the mom. She was what looked like normal. She was the Disneyland fun mom who's singing at the party. All of a sudden, does the most
And looked like she had it all.
That's my point. And she
Yeah,
did. Like
yeah.
from an outside perspective,
Yeah.
you couldn't have asked for more from a material, I guess. I mean, she wasn't as crazy as people might not believe it. She wasn't the most material person in a sense of like the way she looked, like she didn't really care how she looked. She didn't wear
We
extravagant
shopped at
anything.
Ross, and
Yeah.
no disrespect to Ross. I love Ross, but I'm saying it's
Yeah.
not like high end.
Yeah, that's my point. It
You know.
wasn't the highest end of thing or like some kind of like, I guess, I don't know, whatever. But she just wasn't. Listen, I don't classify her as bougie, even though they had a bougie lifestyle. She
Right.
herself was not like, she never did her nails. She never went and got manicures.
Right.
Or
Yeah, she did her own hair.
she did her own hair. She
Right.
bought her clothes. Like she wore like leggings and flip flops and a like
Yeah.
almost cardigan type of thing. Like
Yeah.
it just, my point being like, she just kind of broke everyone's brain on how it's possible to go from that. I mean,
Right.
us too though, but that's the thing they don't understand. Like it's the same thing. That's why there were so many questions being asked.
Right.
And why we kept trying to go back and think about the connection pieces. And that's where everybody spends the most time. How did she go from that to that? That's like what that jump is there. So I've spent a lot of time thinking myself just about what I've experienced and realizing it's not as much of a jump maybe as people probably think, because some of those themes existed. But to
Right.
make the ultimate decision for what she did to her own husband and children,
That's
yes,
like the ultimate.
It doesn't. No, I'll never, no matter how long we talk about it, it will never connect. So I hope that the documentary though does the scope that I've been trying to talk about forever is rewrite what it was actually like, and all those people who are in it experienced it, and they can tell you what they experienced and who the kids were, who Charles was. And that way they actually have a legacy left, not just this idea of these byproducts
Right.
of Lori, because that's really what everybody seems to be, is almost this afterthought, because they
And
just
that's-
make her crazier.
And that's painful in and of itself
Yeah.
for them to be downgraded to that.
That's my point. That's all they're really seen as. And I'm not saying everybody is heartless or
No, I think
whatever. It's just,
I think
it's how it's portrayed though. From the
Right.
media perspective, it's the gather around for the Lori story, and it has nothing really to do with honoring them. But again, it does feel like as the brother or as family members of them, it almost is our own, that it's not a responsibility, but if you're going to do it, that's the people you need to be involved, because they're the ones that can speak to their character that lived it. And you watched Tylee grow up, you watched me grow up, so you have a completely different perspective than I do. So that's my point. It's getting everybody involved to share one overall thing.
Yeah.
And it's not
and
about
to
the
have
case.
everyone's different perspective come together to just let it be what it was.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be. You're not trying to create
I'm not selling
and
it.
trying
Yeah.
to get everybody to agree or tell the
Or-
same
yeah.
story. It's what was your experience like,
Right.
and just letting it be what it is, because everyone's
all it is
perspective
anyway.
is a little bit different. Everybody's theory is a little bit different. Everybody has a different relationship with Tylee, JJ, and Charles than the other person.
Exactly.
So yeah, I do think.
And everybody saw different things at different times during
Yeah.
everything. So again,
Yeah.
I made it clear. It is, their case is there. It's not void of the case. And we're not going to be like, oh, that didn't happen. But it's
Right.
just not like everybody knows those details. So there's not really much for me to try to plug in there and try to prove this or that. It's going to be what it is, which is the main parts of what happened. But that's it. It's not about Lorraine. It's not about the case. It's about everybody who experienced it all in one place from all these different perspectives, from the media perspective, from the detective's perspective, from the family's perspective, from the friend's perspective.
Yeah,
That's
I
everybody you
feel-
could get together.
I feel for those friends.
Me too.
Of Tylee and JJ so much. Like
That's my point. I have that broken heart for them to be that young, to hear that. I feel that same way about your kids,
yeah,
because
the
that
loss.
I can't imagine being younger and having that happen either. Like I'm so shocked, and I was an adult.
Yeah,
So I
but
just
like their
even-
family kind of disintegrated. You know, like our core family stayed together, but the extended family just
everybody was gone.
disintegrated.
Everything was gone.
It was like a nuclear bomb went off in our family, and it was tough, and it still is sometimes. I mean, there's still. I was talking to my daughter the other day about just her feelings about not having Tylee there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes things just come up that they just organically come up because of certain situations, and you just try to be there for each other the best that you can,
Yeah.
and to help each other through, because it's rough, and anybody who's gone through like a loss in their family understands that. But then if you've gone through like a horrific loss, it's a whole nother layer, and then if you go through a public horrific loss, it's even more. Like there's a lot of layers to this
Exactly.
that we've dealt with. So
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess the thing that I ask for all of us too is I want to find the positives, and that's all you have left anyway, is the lessons you've learned, the memories you have, and you have to keep going forward.
yeah,
That's the other part that I want all people who have gone through anything like this, where you're thrown into a case and your loved ones are gone, and you just one day everyone's watching it on TV, and the next day everybody's moved on. It is a weird feeling. It's not to say that you want attention, but all of a sudden you're still in the same exact place you were the day before, whether justice has been served or not. Nothing changes in that way. I'm so glad justice was served. I'm not saying that
100%.
but the fact that it's just everybody's TV's turned off and your life doesn't change at all, not an ounce. It's just over.
Yeah,
and all
other
of a sudden
people can
you're
turn
like,
it off. You can't.
You're almost like in this. I was in like a state of shock, going, like, that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't feel better. Nothing really changed. She's still in jail. It's just over. Now it's just, that's it. And so, and I didn't even get to say my part in front of her, which was, I thought was going to be a good way to say, I'm done. I couldn't even do that. So that's fun.
Well, you know what? I mean, your call, I think you said a lot in your call.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you got to have that opportunity. And I think you and I both felt for a long time, like, if anyone can get through to her, it's me. You know, I think we've had those things, and you come to the realization that you're not making a dent. But what I was going to say about the other part of all of that is I felt in the beginning when the kids were found, when the case shifted for me after the kids were found. But when all of that happened and the criticism was pouring in, all of that, it felt like when you're taken down by a wave in the ocean and you're just scrambling in churning waters, fighting to find the surface for air. And it felt like that for a long time.
Yeah. You actually had that happen too in Hawaii.
I have. That's why
I'm not trying to lighten the mood when you're going through something serious, but the first thing that came to my mind is that you've actually know exactly.
To the best sunglasses I ever had. But yes, no, I have had that happen to me. But that's why I compare it to that, because it's a scary experience when you're being churned like you're in a washing machine under the water, and you're fighting to find the surface. And I think with therapy over time, it kind of got to the point where it was like I was still standing deep enough that the water could knock me off balance, but it wasn't pouring over me wave after wave.
I like that analogy a lot.
And so it was more manageable.
Yeah.
And so for other people going through, like, when it's new for you, it's so overwhelming. But if you can just find a way to hang on, like, it does get to a point where you can manage it a little bit. You can also find joyful moments in the worst days, which I've found so odd. But some of my greatest joyful moments with my kids and stuff were on some of the heaviest days that I'm like, how do you have both at the same time?
It's just human to have
but
that.
That's human, because like you said, your life has to go on. You have to show up, you have to work, you have to be there for your kids. And how do you do that? You know, it's a hard thing to figure out. But if you can hold on, like, and I do feel like I wouldn't be able to have survived without, like, my husband and my kids, like my family, and I have had some of the sweetest, best people around me, my friends, but also met people through the case. So even though I've seen the worst of the worst because of the case, I've also seen some of the best of the best, and seen the most amazing people, like, come out to support in a way that they didn't even know how much it meant. And so I feel like that really helps if you have a community around you. It really does help. Yeah.
And I think that's a great point, is that it isn't how you would think. It's never linear. It's like, how can you laugh? You almost have to, like, learn how to just. I'm
sure people say that about in our interview right now, because we laugh sometimes.
Right. And it's like, but the thing is, anybody who's experienced hardship always knows that everybody who's been through a lot always finds relief. And it's literally, people don't understand. There's a reason people say you either laugh or you cry, because there's some things in life that are so hard. You have to figure out how to. It's like a tea kettle, and at some point it has to be vented. And that's what I've been saying for a long time. Like, at some point you have to vent it out, or you're going to pop. So I think it's really important to understand it's okay to laugh and cry and have good times and have good memories, and also be like, yeah, I am suffering. But at the same time, every day it's 24 hours. So you're awake for a certain amount of time of that. You're not just going to be sad all day, every day, but you are overall struggling. So I think it's okay to just allow the feelings to come as they come.
Yes.
One thing I regret is I wish I would have had therapy from that time when they were missing. I just can't imagine where I'd be if I would have been able to have someone that I kept. But timing is important, and finding the right person is important. So you can't go back and worry about that. But that's one thing I wish I would have done, is just enroll myself in therapy right then. And just have someone.
My first therapist was a great therapist, but I didn't know I needed a trauma therapist. And so my first therapist moved away. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then I found my second one, and I didn't even know I needed a trauma therapist. But it was a huge help to me to have that. So I feel like in your journey, like, yeah, you can't go back. You have to start where you are. But can I just say how proud I am of you for all that you have done to work at therapy and to process all of this. Who can even survive all of this? Like, you've done so amazing. And to have like build your channel the way that you have and build the community that you have. Like, I'm really proud of you for that, and for standing up for Tylee and JJ and trying to tell their stories, because their stories are worth telling, in my opinion. So is Charles. Like, they're worth telling.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. And that's how I feel about you. I have a ton of love and respect for you, but I really think you and I have had some of the best conversations, and not to minimize everybody else, but to say that because we've both done the work, there's an intangible understanding of one another, because we're both doing individual work, and it's easier to talk to someone who does understand. I think that it's been, we're going to just say how we think and feel, rather than letting those feelings create these walls of, you either agree with me about Lori or not. That shouldn't dictate how it was. But that's where I was at, because I did feel like things were lines in the sand. And that was... Sometimes
there are those boundaries, I get, but I also understand, like, from my point of view, I always try to, like, treat people the way I want to be treated, and also, like, try to hear, like, put myself in their shoes. Like, where are you coming from? Why did you feel that way? Why do you feel that way about me? Like, what can we do to, like, resolve?
Yeah.
You know, that's where I would rather...
Exactly. I think at least...
I don't like the anger.
No, exactly. I think it's better to have a really honest conversation with someone and just not having a relationship than it is to just break and walk away with all of that feeling without because you do lose people. And I learned that with Charles. I learned the hard way. Like, I never had that conversation. I never, and all because of Lori. I let that dictate my relationship, and then I never got to say another word. And he died thinking I hated him, which wasn't true.
I know.
So
there's so many moments that you want to go back, and
of course,
but you can't. So you have to accept what was, and what can you do now to resolve those feelings. And that is stuff you have to work on. It's hard. It's hard work to face it, you know, and to accept it, and to accept responsibility, and to try to do better moving forward. You know, it's a work in progress all the time.
Yeah. Well, and I hate this, maybe this sounds weird to say it to you, but I am proud of you for doing it. Most people
Thank you.
won't go to therapy at all for any reason, but especially in this thing, I think you've made the best of what you can. And I think that watching you hold things together, like, to be there for everybody in that bigger frame is a big deal, because there is nothing left. Like, you lost your family like I lost my family too, even though your siblings weren't killed. It's the same exact thing. You lost your sister and your brother. Like, I just happen to not have another brother, right? But at the end of the day, like, you lost your family the same exact way, and you lost your niece and nephew and your brother-in-law. So sorry, I forget what everybody is to everybody.
I know. Yeah,
it's weird. It's weird. I'm not good at
once.
It's hard to remember who everybody is to everybody, but yeah, you lost a lot of the same things. And so, you know, you're doing the best you can to keep going, because that's all you have. So you didn't just quit and just become this angry hermit crab. Like,
I had days I wanted to.
I know you did, but that's the point is that's the resilience part, is that you've kept going. So I'm just like, I really see that in you and admire that in you, because you're not letting all of this stuff, again, even the negativity and what other people are still actively saying about random things that they don't understand. You're not letting that dictate like, you'll let it out and then you move on with your day. So I think that's really important. So I'm really just happy you're doing that. It's really good for you. And
thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nice of you to say. Yeah. I feel the same about you, but I also, like, again, I prefer behind the scenes. So to me, like, taking care of everybody behind the scenes is way better for me. Right. That's a better role for me than you're better on the screen and talking about it all. And I love that you have that ability. You have the gift of the gab. As my mom used to say, you could talk the bark off a tree.
Yes, literally. So that existed, but then it got rerouted into very serious conversations with people, I guess.
I love that. I love knowing all the little stories about you. And I've always just thought of you as, like, this gentle giant. You're so huge, but you're so sweet. You have such a good, kind heart. And I don't think people, I mean, I think your community has gotten to know you and know, like, you're hilarious and your charm and all of that stuff, but just how good your heart is. I don't know how much I can, like, touch on that. Like, you really do have a good heart. And
thank you.
I love that about you. And I hate everything you've gone through, and I wish I could fix it, but I know I can't. So I can just try to be there and support you in what you're doing now.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And I love you. And you've been a huge support to me. And, this was unimaginable that we would all have to face this because we all go through our own.
Is this even real sometimes?
No, I know. Seriously, it
we
does
do that
feel,
sometimes.
Yeah, it just doesn't compute. Like there's just days where you're just like,
yeah,
I can't believe that happened. It's just almost like you're re-experiencing because it is just that many layers. It's that many things, but trying
many
to
people.
Exactly, and that many people that you loved and cared about and knew, all of that happened, and you have both sides, the killers and the killed. So, I mean, I hate to, maybe that sounds crude, but
yeah, I know.
whatever the word would be.
Yeah.
But you have both.
Yeah.
So you have the victims and the people who are the attackers. So it's horrible. It's a horrible thing to experience. And so it's a very multi-layered thing, but
it really is. It's so complex.
Exactly.
And I think, I know that there's been like questions about me talking to Lori and things like that. I haven't talked to her in a long time.
Yeah.
But those feelings are so complex because of our history. It's not just a simple, I see that all the time. Like people will say like, I would never talk to her again. And I'm like, okay, then that's fine. And for you to do that and feel that, I don't know where I'm at with it. Like I take it day by day. I see myself probably talking to her again in the future, but it's a difficult thing. It's not like we'll ever have the same relationship. So I've had to accept and mourn the loss of that. But then also I've kind of had to learn through like my face. I can't talk today. I'm sorry. I've had to learn through my faith that you can have acceptance of responsibility and also compassion at the same time. So it's accepting her role and what she's responsible for, and also finding a way to have compassion if I can.
Right.
And on days that I can't every day. Some days I can, some days I can't.
Yeah. See, we're in two completely different places. Like I really view her
But I don't expect anybody else
Exactly.
to.
Like, that's your relationship. It's not my business either way, because it's your sister regardless.
Exactly.
And
secondly, we're all on our own journey.
Yeah, we don't agree, and that doesn't matter because that's not a factor. Like I see her as a dead human being. Like she died.
That's probably healthier for you. And
it's the truth. Like even talking to her, I'm like, who that? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. There's nothing that will ever be. Yeah, she'll never have a connection to me or the kids, but that's just part of it, and that's okay. But you're in a different place. It's a different relationship, and it's no one else's business anyway. It's no one else gets to dictate how you think or feel about what you would say if you want to talk to your sister or not. And I've just learned again, just to kind of end on that, but that the opinions of other people, they're not living it. It's not their life. So it's really just an opinion like anybody else's. So negative or positive, I appreciate everybody who's so amazing and positive and comes around.
And there are some really amazing
There's amazing people.
Yes.
I've met some amazing people, and I know a lot of new amazing people, but at the same time, there is a lot of people who are always going to think one way, judge what they know. They wouldn't change their mind even if you put it in front of them anyway, just like Lori.
Yeah,
they're just as stubborn.
They dig their heels in just like
they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear a difference.
And I think it's a funny thing because I've been criticized for defending her when not being able to see. But I'm like, sometimes people don't see even when I changed my mind with the evidence. When I saw it, I changed. Some people can't even accept that when it is in front of them. Yeah. So it's kind of ironic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's funny. They judge Lori, but then they do the same thing when it comes to. It's very arrogant, and I'm sorry to say the truth, but it's very arrogant to look at something and not be willing to change your mind, because if something does come in and become a factor, you should be open to those things. I say that all the time. It's like, I've been wrong. Yeah. Hello, everybody's been wrong. So if you can't be wrong, then you have a bigger issue there. That's a thing you have to deal with, because being wrong is part of being a human being. So if you're never wrong, are you an alien or what?
But how else do you learn?
Well, it's because it hurts to be wrong.
Of course.
And it's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
Whatever the word is, people don't like that feeling that associates with, I was wrong about this thing. And so that's the big difference.
Well, I think too, something that I've learned is not every very personal decision that we've made needs to be a public one.
No, of course not.
So there are some things that we talk about, and I'm never going to know every single thing about this case. You're never going to know every single thing about this case. No. But the public is going to know even less because they didn't live it. We've lived it. We share things. But we can't possibly share every single thing there is to share because there's too much. And so we do the best that we can to share the important points. And I think you're as open as you can get in this situation, but you still have to have that protection for yourself of those personal decisions.
I think that's a big point, is like being raw and vulnerable and honest doesn't mean you have no boundary.
Right.
You are being
or
honest
that you're
and raw.
being weak in any way. Like, it takes a lot of strength to do
You're
that.
telling people what it is, but that doesn't give a free passive access, which is what most people, I think, kind of just forget, because we do have a world of so much information, and everybody's business gets put out there sometimes without them wanting to, which is part of life. But it's like, it just is weird because, I don't know. I know God knew what would happen, and I think he's stepped in and just is willing to take you as far as you're willing to go too. He doesn't force it. It's like, sometimes he puts you in certain positions, you have to go that way. But at the same time, I also think that he lets you learn and grow, and like, you can either go heal. It's like he said at the pool, Jesus said, do you want to be healed? Which I thought was a really wild question.
Yeah.
Like, why would someone who can't walk not want to be healed? But it actually applies to everybody. It's, do you want to change your mind? Do you want to become better? Do you want to be honest and vulnerable? But then also, when it comes to stuff like this, exactly, I'm not going to share every single thing. I still have people that I love and protect. There's so many times, like, even the story, I don't want to bring up the story because I did say this story the other day, but I told everybody the story about the text misspelling when I asked you for a drink.
Oh,
and the thing is, I didn't want, the point being,
we've all had embarrassing texts.
Yes. But I have always felt that if it is somebody that I know is not comfortable, I'm not going to say your name. It's not a hiding. I'm protecting people. Like,
right.
Because
totally.
I'm not just going to throw that out there. I think that's kind of disrespectful. Like, even if you're really close to someone and you're having your own private conversations and relationship, and even if it's like, why are you telling everybody else? That's almost for clout in a way. Like, that's like, oh, name drop.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, Jagger. Like, come on, bro. Like, everybody says that stuff, and then all of a sudden they're, you know what I mean? Like, it almost feels inauthentic to put people that it doesn't need to be said. Like, I don't need to go out there and validate myself through everybody else by telling them, I know this person. And it's like, it doesn't make any difference. So I have a completely private relationship with someone. It never has to be out there. Like, there's a million things I know that I've never said on camera because, again, protection of those things.
Yeah, not everything needs to be in the public, but I did think the text was hilarious.
I'm not repeating it.
And
I'm not repeating it. Let's just say she asked me for what drink I want, and I said just the word Coke, and it was not Coke. And I knew the second it sent.
Talk to text will get you every time.
And I had my AirPods in, and I said it, and I pressed send because I didn't expect it to not say that. And I sent that, and I thought, I'll never hear the end of it.
I was like, oh, really?
Yeah,
okay, I'll see if they have that.
No, thank you, please. No, thank you. But yeah, that was pretty wild. That was one of those things. But I brought that up the other day, and I didn't say your name because, again, that's the point.
Yeah,
it's protecting any integrity of a relationship. But I have been pretty clear about, how I feel in the time too. But I'm willing to kind of walk back and say, for me, like, I'm okay with being, but also changing my mind later, and especially when it's maybe you're not as heated. Because, again, you're really emotional.
Sometimes it's better to step away for a little bit. And I don't take it hard in the sense that you've been through so much. I, of course, need to give you space to like process where you are right now. And if anger is a big part of grief and healing. So I think we all go through moments where we're, angry at people or what the circumstances or whatever. So, I always want to have the conversation. If I've hurt you in some way, I would want to know. But I don't fault you for taking time for yourself to figure things out. Yeah. And I think we all need to give each other room and space for that. Like, we all have to process our own way and grieve our own way. And, I'm thrilled to have any remnants of my family left. So anytime I have an opportunity to like repair any of those relationships that have exploded, like, that makes me happy and my heart happy. But if I can't, then I just have to be grateful for what I have now. Yeah. So that's where I try to live and not wish I had more. If that makes
beautiful.
Sense.
That's a beautiful place to end it.
Oh, come on.
That's beautiful. No, seriously. And I really appreciate you being here and being vulnerable because, again, I know there is a perception out there, but it's very brave of you to even discuss these things. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you for letting me share my perspective.
Of course.
It's an honor to be here.